I was troubled by my own impatience when I approached the Buddha. Seeking his wisdom on calmness and speech, the Buddha sat beneath a tree, radiating tranquility that seemed to embrace every creature and soul present. I bowed low before him, feeling the weight of my agitation pressing against the serenity of his presence. "Master," I began, my voice trembling, "how does one find peace in the tumult of anger and words unrestrained?" The Buddha smiled gently, his eyes deep with a knowing that seemed to hold lifetimes within their gaze. "Sit with me, my child," he said softly, his voice as calming as the whisper of a forest breeze. I seated myself cross-legged before him, still trying to quiet the restless storm within my mind. "A story," he began, "may help you understand the power of silence and pause before allowing words to escape." As he spoke, it felt as though the world around us grew quieter, attentive to the unfolding lesson. "There was once a farmer," the Buddha said, his hands gesturing with grace, emphasizing each layer of the tale. "This farmer," he continued, "found his crops destroyed one morning, ravaged by wild animals during the night. The sight of his ruined work filled him with anger, and he stormed into the nearby village with accusations. He shouted at every villager, blaming them for carelessness, for failing to protect the fields from roaming beasts. His words were harsh, his tone cutting, and soon the villagers' own tempers flared, igniting a quarrel among them. The air thickened with discord, words flying like arrows, piercing bonds of trust that had long bound the community." The Buddha paused, letting the weight of the narrative settle upon my ears and heart before continuing. "Amidst the chaos," he said, an elder approached, calm and unshaken, and simply observed the turmoil before him. He gestured for silence, raising a hand, and the crowd gradually quieted, their curiosity piqued by the elder's stillness. The elder spoke slowly, his words deliberate, like stones dropping into a calm, clear pond, rippling minds with clarity. "My friends," the elder began, "have you considered what has truly happened here and whom this anger will serve?" The farmer, startled by the elder's composed demeanor, found himself pausing, his fury momentarily subdued by curiosity. The elder continued, "Anger is like a fire. It burns most fiercely in the heart of the one who holds it." "Pause," the elder urged, "before you speak further, and see clearly if your words bring water or fuel." The Buddha's voice softened further, drawing me closer to the lesson buried in his tale. Layer by profound layer, the farmer, for the first time, noticed the quivering of his own hands, his chest constricted by his relentless rage. Through the elder's wisdom, the farmer saw his anger as smoke, clouding his sight, poisoning his intentions and his words. The Buddha's gaze met mine, and I felt the depth of his words like a steady stream cleansing my spirit. "When we pause," the Buddha said, "we allow the fire of anger to dissipate, leaving space for wisdom to arise." I nodded, his words weaving threads of understanding through my chaotic thoughts, bringing stillness to my mind. "But Master," I asked hesitantly, "what if anger spills out before the pause, damaging others with words unmeant?" The Buddha's smile widened slightly, a knowing glimmer in his eye, as though he'd anticipated this question before it came. "When water spills," he said, "we do not leave it to evaporate alone. We act to wipe it clean, mindfully. So too, when words cause harm, we offer honesty, apology, and actions to restore the balance disturbed by thoughtlessness." Each of his sentences was a droplet of clarity, pooling together to reflect the truth of human frailty and forgiveness. The farmer, remorseful, the Buddha continued, returned to the villagers, his words slower, more deliberate, meant to mend the torn bonds. He acknowledged his blame, his haste, and extended his hand in reparation, planting seeds of trust where bitterness had grown. "When our words plant seeds," he said, Let them yield compassion, for pause before speech ensures a fertile ground for growth. As the lesson ended, I felt my heart lighten, my restlessness soothed, and my gratitude for his wisdom overflowing. Bowing again, I rose, determined to carry his teaching into the vast field of my own life and interactions. The Buddha's presence seemed to follow me as I walked away, each step accompanied by the echo of his guidance, whenever anger or impulsive words threatened to spill. I remembered the farmer, the elder, and the Buddha's enduring lesson. The power of pausing before speaking became my anchor, grounding me in storms and reminding me of the sanctity of peace in the quiet spaces between words. I began to find not emptiness, but a fertile soil for compassion and understanding. Though I may stumble at times, his teaching echoes within, drawing me back to the path of mindful communication. Even now, as I reflect, I feel the Buddha's lesson weaving through my thoughts like a gentle, steady river of grace. Another day, another walk with the Buddha through the vibrant villages that surrounded the peaceful monastery we called home. The sun shone gently upon the earth, its rays filtered through swaying trees that whispered secrets to the wandering wind. I accompanied the Buddha, my mind troubled by a quarrel I had witnessed between two brothers during our previous journey. Their heated words had planted deep roots of bitterness, their bond unraveling under the weight of distrust and harsh speech. As we walked, I gathered courage to speak of my unease, seeking the Buddha's wisdom on repairing strained relationships. Master, I began, how does one mend what words have broken? Is reconciliation possible after anger has poisoned the heart? The Buddha turned to me, his steps slowing as his gaze softened with both understanding and infinite patience. He gestured for us to sit under a nearby banyan tree, its ancient branches spreading like sheltering arms above us. A small group of villagers joined, curious to hear the Buddha's teachings, their faces etched with weariness and hope. As we settled into the earth's embrace, the Buddha's voice emerged, calm and steady, carrying both gentleness and power. Listen, my friends, he said, to a story of two brothers whose quarrel threatened to consume the light of their bond. There were once two brothers, he began, who inherited a fertile piece of land from their late father. Beloved by both, they tilled the soil together, sowing seeds and watching their shared labor blossom into harvests abundant with life and sustenance. Their harmony was admired, their partnership a shining example of unity and shared purpose within the community around them. But when their father's will revealed division, differing opinions emerged about how the land and resources would be separated. Soon, the brothers' warm collaboration turned cold. The bonds they had nurtured fractured as resentment crept silently into their hearts. Their arguments grew louder, harsher, tearing the air apart with accusations, each blaming the other for greed and betrayal. The villagers attempted to mediate, but their words fell upon ears deafened by anger and throats fueled by venom. The Buddha paused, allowing the weight of his words to permeate the crowd, each syllable a pebble cast into still water. An elder known for wisdom approached the brothers, who were deep in their quarrel, oblivious to the damage they wrought. The elder's voice carried quiet power as he addressed them, asking, "What is the true nature of your inheritance?" Confused, the brothers asked what he meant, each thinking only of the tangible division of land and possessions they sought. The elder continued, "Your inheritance is far greater than this soil. It lies within your shared past and collective harmony. Would you tear apart what was built upon years of love simply to claim fleeting possession over material wealth?" The brothers grew silent, their fury momentarily quelled by the piercing clarity of the elder's words and gaze. "Anger is like fire," the elder said, "capable of consuming everything, including the bonds that give life meaning." "Pause," he urged them, before allowing this fire to destroy the bridge you have crossed together all these years. The Buddha's eyes met mine, his gaze profound and steady, speaking volumes without the need for any further words. What became of the brothers, Master? I asked, the lesson drawing me deeper into the unfolding wisdom of his story. The brothers paused. The Buddha said, recognizing the destructive force of their words and actions as the elders' truth filled them. They began to see not enemies before them, but reflections of themselves, mirrors held by hands trembling with fear. They chose to speak from a place of understanding, offering apologies that were slow, deliberate, and rooted in sincerity. The path of reconciliation, the Buddha continued, was not immediate, but each pause brought them closer to rebuilding their bond. The villagers listening nodded, some wiping tears, their own personal quarrels echoing the tale that had unfolded before them. But Master, I ventured again, what if the other party refuses reconciliation? Is pausing still enough to heal what has broken? The Buddha's smile grew ever so slightly, his wisdom welling like an ocean that seemed infinite yet entirely accessible. Not every soul, he said, is ready to release anger. However, the pause still protects your heart from its poison. To pause before speaking, he continued, is to preserve your integrity, even if others are yet unable to find peace. The sun began its descent, the sky shifting hues as light danced upon the faces of those gathered under the tree. A child in the group spoke timidly, asking the Buddha, but what if my anger feels bigger than me? Too strong to stop? The Buddha looked at the child with an expression so tender, it seemed to hold the weight of the universe. Anger, he said, is strong only when you feed it. Every pause takes away its fuel, leaving only ash behind. As the brothers learned, he continued, pausing is not weakness, but the strength that breaks the cycle of harm before it spins. The child nodded shyly, while the villagers murmured their agreement, their gazes filled with both reflection and renewed determination. As the gathering dispersed, I remained seated, my heart stirred deeply by the Buddha's words and his unwavering guidance. The walk back to the monastery was quiet, the rhythm of our steps punctuated by the echo of his teachings. I began to understand not only the power of pause, but also the gift of silence in mending broken connections. The Buddha spoke again as we neared home, his voice serene. Each pause is a thread in the tapestry of peace. These threads, he said, woven together create a sanctuary where compassion thrives and anger finds no foothold to ignite. I bowed to him in gratitude, humbled by the infinite kindness he showed through words, stories, and simply his being. Even as night fell, the story of the brothers lingered within me, a beacon guiding my interactions toward understanding and harmony, though conflicts may arise. The Buddha's teachings remind me that each pause is a breath closer to reconciliation and grace. I find myself carrying his words as an anchor, steadying me amidst the tides of human emotion and fleeting impulses. The pause he teaches is not merely a practice but a transformative gift that nurtures peace in every moment it is embraced. Another day, another gathering of disciples who came seeking the Buddha's wisdom under the canopy of an ancient, sprawling tree. The gentle rustling of leaves above us blended with the distant sounds of birdsong, creating an atmosphere of serene anticipation. Among the crowd stood a merchant, his attire fine and his demeanor confident, yet his eyes reflected a restless mind. The merchant stepped forward and bowed respectfully, though his words carried a challenge disguised beneath the veil of curiosity. Master, he said, you are revered for your wisdom. But I ask this, what value lies in silence over spoken truth? The disciples murmured among themselves, unsure how the Buddha would respond to such a bold inquiry from a seemingly skeptical man. The Buddha's face remained serene, his gaze unwavering as he regarded the merchant with the patience of timeless understanding. "Come, let us explore together," the Buddha said, his voice calm. Inviting the merchant and disciples to sit in silence, we all followed his lead. Seated on the soft earth, the ambient sounds around us heightened by the absence of speech. As the hours passed, the merchant shifted uncomfortably, his initial confidence slowly giving way to an awareness of the present. He glanced around, noticing the subtle movements of nature, the swaying grass, the interplay of light and shadow in the forest. The disciples, too, seemed transformed by the stillness, their usual chatter replaced by a quiet attentiveness to the unfolding moment. The sun reached its zenith, casting gentle warmth upon the group, and yet no words had yet been spoken by anyone. Finally, the merchant broke the silence, his voice softened by the humility now etched into his once confident demeanor. "Master," he began hesitantly, "I came to prove that words carry power. But I see now the weight of silence." The Buddha smiled, his expression full of compassion, his voice returning to guide the merchant's newfound understanding further. "Words," he said, "carry power, indeed. But silence creates the space from which wisdom and truth arise unclouded by impulse." The merchant nodded, his mind racing with realizations. Yet his words grew deliberate as he responded thoughtfully to the Buddha. "But Master," the merchant asked, "how does one balance silence with the need to speak truth when situations demand swift action?" The Buddha's gaze softened further, his answer carrying both depth and simplicity, each word deliberate and imbued with clarity. "Balance lies in pausing before speech," the Buddha said, "for in the pause, we find whether our words heal or harm. Silence is not mere absence of speech," he continued, "but the stillness from which intention takes form." Guiding us mindfully, the disciples murmured their agreement, each reflecting on moments where silence had offered them clarity before decisive action. The merchant remained seated, his curiosity transformed into reverence, his questions now shaped by a genuine desire for wisdom. "But Master," he asked again, "what if silence causes misunderstanding or fails to protect others from harm? Should we then remain silent?" The Buddha's smile widened slightly, his eyes holding the paradox of human nature in their infinite depth and gentle truth. "Silence," the Buddha said, "is not inaction, but preparation. A pause gathers the strength needed to speak with intention and integrity. When silence allows harm," he continued, "it is broken not with haste, but with words chosen to illuminate and protect." The merchant bowed his head, his heart heavy yet lightened by the wisdom he now carried from the Buddha's presence. As the gathering dispersed, the disciples spoke quietly among themselves, each finding ways to incorporate the teaching into their lives. I remained by the Buddha's side, my own thoughts swirling with the challenge of integrating silence into meaningful communication. The Buddha spoke again, his voice reaching me with the familiar warmth and steadiness that guided us through countless lessons. "Each pause," he said, "is an invitation to listen deeply, both to the voices of others and the voice within oneself." I bowed to him in gratitude, knowing that the lesson was not merely heard, but planted firmly within my being. Even now, as I reflect on the merchant's challenge and the Buddha's wisdom, I feel the transformative power of the pause. Though silence may seem empty, it is instead full, a vessel for truths unspoken and compassion awaiting its moment to emerge. The Buddha's teaching echoes within me, guiding my words toward clarity, and my silences toward purpose in every interaction I embrace. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.